This is the continuation of the 7.4 notes. We worked on the function operations yesterday. Today we are going to work on something that is called composition of functions. This is when you take a function and you do another function operation to it. All right. The composition of function f of g of x looks like this. That means we're going to take g of x and we're going to do f to it. All right, so this is the composition of functions. This is something you haven't seen before. This is a new way of doing this. It's not like addition, subtraction, and everything else that you've done before. All right, so I'm going to show you how to do this. All right, so here we go. We are going to start with f of x is going to be equal to 2x, and g of x is going to be equal to 5x plus 3. So we are going to do f of g of x first. All right, so now the way you do it is you keep the outside function. You keep it just like it is. So you just write f parentheses. What we're going to do is we're going to take the inside function, this g of x, and we're going to replace it with what it actually is. So g of x is actually 5x plus 3. So we're going to write that inside of here, 5x plus 3. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this outside function, this f function. We're going to take and we're going to write what it is, but we're going to leave out the x and just put parentheses. All right, so it looks like this, 2 parentheses. All right, so that's what we do to start this off. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take what we have inside these parentheses over here, and we're going to bring it over to here. So 5x plus 3. All right, now all we have to do is simplify. So in this one, we have 2 times the quantity 5x plus 3, so we just distribute our 2, and we get 2 times 5x gives us 10x, and 2 times 3 gives us 6. So we get f of g of x is equal to 10x plus 6. All right? Next, we have g of f of x. So again, what we do is we take the outside function, we just write it. So g of parentheses. We take the inside function, we take it out, and we replace it with what it is. Well, f of x is 2x. So this time inside the parentheses, we write 2x. All right? Now, again, we take the outside parentheses, we take what the function is, we're going to rewrite this, but we're going to leave out this x. So it looks like this, 5 parentheses plus 3. Notice, it's exactly like this, except the x is missing with parentheses. All right, so that's all you do. Now we take this and we move it over. Okay, so we take our 2x, we put it inside the parentheses, and now all we have to do is simplify. Well, I just distribute my 5 to the 2x. 5 times 2x gives me 10x, and bring over the plus 3. So we get 10x plus 3. So notice that f of g of x is 10x plus 6. G of f of x is 10x plus 3. So they're not the same. All right? So you have to be careful of that. All right? And again, we're going to look at the domains of this, but remember the domains of each of these functions have to carry over. Okay? So when we look at the domains, just remember that the two things that we cannot do, all right, can't divide by 0 and no square roots of negatives. So that's going to affect our domain. So here we go. Example 3. We're going to do f of g of x. So again, we take our outside function, we rewrite it. We take out the inside function and we replace it with what it is. It's 3x minus 1. That's what the g of x function is. All right. Now, we take the outside function, our f function. We're going to rewrite it down here, but we're going to leave out the x. So it looks like this, parentheses squared. All right, so I just left out the x, put parentheses in for it. and we bring our 3x minus 1 down. All right, and now all we have to do is simplify this. Well, 3x minus 1 squared, we have to FOIL it out. So we got to do our 3x minus 1 times 3x minus 1. And we do first, 3x times 3x gives us 9x squared. Outer, 3x times negative 1 gives us negative 3x. Inner, negative 1 times 3x gives us negative 3x. And last, negative 1 times negative 1 gives us positive 1. And then just combine your like terms, and we get 9x squared minus 6x plus 1. And that is f of g of x. All right, now we're going to do g of f of x. So again, outside one, we just rewrite it. Don't do anything to it. All right, inside one, we take it away and we write what it is. It's x squared. All right, now we take the outside function. We're going to rewrite it, but we're going to leave the x out and just write parentheses. So it looks like this: 3 parentheses minus 1. And then we bring down what's in the parentheses up here. We write it in there. And then once we do that, all we have to do is simplify. Well, simplify, all we have to do is multiply it by 3. So we get 3x squared minus 1. All right, so that is g of f of x is equal to that. All right, now the domain. A, the domain. No restrictions on this because we don't have square roots, we don't have division, so this is all real numbers. No restrictions on that. All real numbers. And then what we did in here, we multiplied. Multiplication doesn't cause us any more restrictions. We don't have more restrictions. So the domain for this is all real numbers. You can use any number you want in there. All right. All right, B. All right, got to look at that one. All right. Again, no restrictions, no restrictions. We did the multiplication there. That's all we really did. So that doesn't cause us to have any restrictions. So again, no restrictions. You can use any number you want on that. Okay. Here we go. Example 4. Evaluate the composition of functions. We're going to find f of g of 2. Well, first thing we're going to do is find f of g of x. All right. So f of g of x, again, we write our f function. G of x is 4x. We put it in there. All right. Then we rewrite our f function, leave the x out, and just put parentheses. So squared minus 4. Put in the 4x. And now we simplify. So we got to square the 4 and square the x. So we get 16x squared minus 4. And that is f of g of x. That's what it's equal to. Now, to find f of g of 2, all we do is we take this x out and we put in a 2. All right, so then 2 squared is 4. 4 times 16 is 64. And 64 minus 4 is 60. So our answer for that, f of g of 2, is 60. All right. And then we go to the U-try. So there you go. You got a U-try. All right. So you're going to do the U-try with these two functions, f of x and g of x. You're going to do that U-try, and I will post the answers for that later on. All right. So you can see what it is. Example 5. I want to go over this one. This is how it actually gets used in real life. So I'm going to show you this. All right. And you will see this again. All right, you have a coupon for $15 off all winter clothes over $50 for this weekend only. The department store is offering an additional 20% off. Let X be the cost of your purchase. Write the composition functions that represents the final cost of purchase. Well, so our first function, we're going to do the $15 off coupon. That's going to be our F function. So F of X is equal to, well, it's $15 off. So X is the price minus 15. So that is your first function. Okay? Now, the second function, for this weekend only, it's an additional 20% off. All right. So with anytime you have a percent like that, instead of looking at what it's off, we're going to look at what it's on, or actually how much I'm going to pay of the price. So if it's 20% off, that means I have to pay 80% of the price. So this is going to be our G function, and it's going to look like this. G of x equals, well, 20% off means 80% on. 80%, we change that to a decimal, so it's 0.8. So it looks like this, 0.80, if you want to put the 0, x. All right, and that is our additional 20% off. Now, we want to write the composition of functions. It represents the final. All right, so what we have to do is this. The first one they're going to do is the f function. So that's going to go on the inside. Whatever they do first always goes on the inside. So it's going to be g of f of x. All right, so let's figure out what this is. So again, we take our g function, we write it. Put our f function in there, place of it. All right, now we take out our g function, we rewrite this, but we leave out the x and put parentheses. So it looks like this, 0.80, parentheses, and then we bring this down, x minus 15. So then we just simplify it, so we just got to distribute this. So 0.80 times x is 0.80x, and then 0.80 times 15, let's see, 0.8 times 15 is 12, all right? All right, so that's going to be minus 12. So this is g of f of x. And that is your composition of function. It represents the final cost. All right, that's it for your notes.